My 32F husband, 34M, spit on me today. Is this forgivable? I don't know what to do. We got in a really weird fight this morning. I just need to describe what happened and see what people think. A little background info. My husband is really irritable in the mornings when he wakes up. He's just not a morning person. Whatever. Well, today was his day off from work, so I was expecting him to sleep in. I was up early with our baby around 7 AM, changing her diaper, and I noticed he was awake. Surprisingly, we sometimes sleep in separate rooms because of the baby. She's little, so she sleeps in our bedroom still and wakes up a few times during the night. So if he wants to sleep in the next day, he'll sleep in a separate room so he doesn't get woken up. Anyway, he seemed to be in a good mood. So I went to his room and we started chatting. We sang some songs with the baby, everything was good and happy. Then I went and made some coffee and played with the baby for a bit, getting ready to start my workday. Here's where the fight starts. I went back to his room to ask him if he could pick up a few things at the grocery store later today, since he was planning on running some errands. As I'm talking with him, I farted. I didn't even think twice about it, it just came out. Well, he just suddenly became irate. Furious. It really set him off. I apologized. I realize it was rude. Just happened without thinking. But he just kept screaming and repeating himself over and over and saying how disgusting I am. He insisted I leave his room so he could go back to sleep. This is where I messed up. I just cannot stand it when someone is mad at me. I was so upset and felt like I just couldn't go on with my day with us ending our interaction like that. I started begging him to not be mad at me and crying and pleading with him to let me into his room. He was furious and just kept screaming for me to leave him alone. This went on for a few minutes, then he left his room and huffed and puffed up the stairs to go to the main bedroom. I was standing on the stairs crying, asking him why he was being so mean. Why couldn't he just forgive me? And that's when it happened. He leaned over the stair railing and spit on me. This has never happened before. I was so upset. I got all crazy and said I was going to call the police on him because spitting on me is basically assault. Shouldn't have done that, because I was never really going to call the police. I just wanted him to get into his head that it's never okay to spit on someone. Anyway, we finally just left each other alone because our nanny was about to get here, and I needed to start my workday. Unfortunately, I'm obviously having a hard time concentrating, and so I came on Reddit for advice. I don't know what to do. He has this wild temper where things just set him off. And I have this problem where I can't stand someone being mad at me. I admit I was rude and annoying, but I don't deserve to be spit on. But like, where do I go from here? There's a difference between a fight and him getting mad over nothing at all. He sleeps in a separate room because he can't be bothered to be woken up by his child. Spit on you over nothing at all. That behavior is absolutely unacceptable, and he's absolutely a jerk. He spit on you because you're human. All humans have to toot. Frankly, changing his mood that quickly is an indication of a deeper problem within his mind. Spitting on you isn't the problem here. It's that he does not respect you or care for you as much as he should, and that is not forgivable. Wait, an accidental fart in your own home is inexcusable and disgusting, but him purposely spitting on you is okay? Please leave this environment. You and your child deserve better. If my girl farts, we'd laugh it off. This guy is fucking crazy. He has this wild temper where things just set him off. And I have this problem where I can't stand someone being mad at me. Well, that's a bad combination. Can you elaborate on his wild temper? What kinds of things does he do to lash out? Has he ever sought out professional help for this temper? He's not willing to work to improve his unacceptable behavior. Or if it doesn't improve, even if he does try, then you'd be better off ending the relationship. It's such a bad combination. By wild temper I mean he goes from 0 to 100 in an instant. 1 minute we're happy and having a nice time, then something sets him off and he's screaming. If he's in a bad mood and he gets angry, he will sometimes just get so nasty with the things he says, really mean stuff. Like marrying me was a mistake, our relationship is nothing. Then later when he's in a better mood he says he didn't mean that stuff. What advice would you give your daughter, if she came to you and told you this story? My dad, 39M, and my aunt, 45F, have been having an affair for 4+ years. They have no idea I, 20F, know about it, but I caught them together last night. Long time lurker, first time poster. Sorry in advance for length, I have a lot to get off my chest. A little background info cause our family situation is pretty weird. My mom went to college a few hours away from her hometown in 1999 and met my dad. My parents were together very briefly, like a month, and my mom got pregnant with me. She moved back to her hometown after getting pregnant, and my dad followed so he could be involved in my life. My mom died the day after I was born due to childbirth complications, but my dad stayed in her hometown to raise me. He's not close to his family at all, so my mom's family has pretty much become his adoptive family. My maternal grandparents practically see him as a son at this point, and vice versa, and my mom's two sisters see him as a brother, or so they say. Now a little background on my mom's oldest sister. She's been married since before she met my dad in 1999, but she's despised her husband for as long as I can remember. No one in the family likes him either for reasons I won't get into. She always says she'll leave him, but they've been married for 22 years and she still hasn't. She has no children. She and I aren't super close, but we're also not estranged or anything. Background info on my dad. He had a couple long-term girlfriends when I was much younger, but he hasn't had one in at least 10 years. Claims it's because he likes being single and having fun. Everyone sort of just views him as a womanizer who doesn't want to settle down. He'll occasionally tell me he has a date, but I've never seen any proof of this. I'm extremely close to him, but I don't ask him about his love life cause that would be weird. Outwardly, my aunt and my dad aren't super close. They see each other when we all get together as a family, which is often, but they've never openly hung out one-on-one or anything like that. When we're all together, they just act like siblings. However, I'm a very intuitive and inquisitive person, and when I was about 13 I started getting suspicious of them. The weirdest thing was there was never any proof or evidence that something was going on between them. It was just a gut feeling I had, something in the way they looked at each other and spoke of each other. I started to theorize about the technicalities, wondering how and when they'd be meeting up if they were. I wondered if they were secretly meeting up when I was at school or at my grandparents'. When I was younger I used to spend the night at their house at least 4 times a month just because I wanted to, and sometimes my dad would ask them to keep me because he had to work late. But, like I said, there was never any proof or evidence, so my theories were no more than occasional passing thoughts. Fast forward to when I was 16. My dad owns a store, and when I first got my license, curiosity took over me and I started driving by his store on the nights he was working late to see if he was actually there. He always was, but one time my aunt's car was there, too. My dad has a pull-out couch in his office. He doesn't know that I know this. The only reason I do is because I looked at it really hard one day and figured it out. It's one of those couches that looks completely normal but turns into a bed. Seeing her there confirmed my suspicions. I decided to leave it at that and stop prying because I already felt weird and nosy enough. The whole situation really haunted me for a while, and it honestly still does. I sobbed all the way home and all night long after confirming my suspicions. I always viewed my dad as someone with amazing morals, and the thought of him having a long-term affair with a married woman, not just any married woman but my own aunt, really messed with my head. And on top of that, I couldn't tell anyone about it. It's confirmed this has been going on for at least 4 years, but I suspect it's been way longer than that. Like I mentioned earlier, my dad hasn't had a girlfriend in over 10 years. I suspect his relationship with my aunt is the reason. There was also an instance in 2018 where my aunt and my dad both coincidentally went out of town and came back at the exact same time. My aunt claimed to be in New York visiting a friend and my dad claimed to be in Nebraska for a business convention, but I think they may have actually taken a trip together. I've been walking on eggshells for the past 4 years, and living in constant fear that I'll be caught in an awkward situation and or accidentally see something I'm not supposed to, something much worse than just a car at his office. And then, my fears finally came true a few hours ago. I'm doing college from home right now, living with my dad. Tonight we had a miscommunication. He thought I was spending the night at my boyfriend's, but I was really planning to come home. I got home at about midnight, and figured it was safe because my aunt's car wasn't there or anything. I also was under the impression that my dad knew I was coming home, so he wouldn't have her over. But when I walked in, my aunt and my dad were just sitting on the couch watching a movie, all cuddled up. I went in through the game room door, which is the room they were in, so I walked right in on them. Thank God they were only watching a movie, but it was still pretty traumatizing considering they have no idea I've known about their relationship for years now. We all just kind of froze for a second, then my dad said, "I didn't know you were coming home," and I said, "I told you I was." Then in a weird freaked out state, I ran back to my car and went back to my boyfriend's. I'm still at my boyfriend's. He knows everything BTW, he's the only one who does, and I haven't heard from my dad since. It's 3 AM and I've been waiting for a text or a call but I haven't gotten one, which I think is super weird considering we're close and usually have great communication. I haven't reached out to him either because I don't know what to say. Obviously we're inevitably going to have to address this, probably tomorrow, and I'm so freaked out I can't sleep. Do I wait for him to reach out to me first, or do I text him if he hasn't texted me by morning? Do I tell him I've known the whole time? If he says they were just hanging out, or it was a one-time thing, which I feel like he might, do I pretend to believe him? Too long didn't read. My dad and my maternal aunt, who's married, have been having an affair for at least 4 years. They have no idea I've known the whole time, but I came home and caught them together last night, just watching TV all cuddled up, not doing anything gross. I quickly ran back outside and left, and I haven't spoken to my dad since. We're going to have to address this tomorrow and I don't know how to. Your aunt is cheating on her mean husband. That isn't ideal, but it is not uncommon. Your dad is sleeping with a married woman. Again, not ideal, not uncommon. It is very common for people who lose their partners to end up with their siblings. And you do not know the whys of this. Why your aunt doesn't leave her husband. Why they fell in love. At the end of the day, people have complicated lives. Your dad loves you. Talk to him about it so it doesn't feel like a big secret. But to you this feels more important ATM than it really is. Your dad's love life is separate from you. You do not have to worry about it. All families have weird secrets. I would really caution you to not let this ruin your relationship with your dad. Your dad sounds like he did everything to put you at the center of his universe and put his personal life on hold and hidden to put you first. As close as you are, we can never know the inside and outside of another person's mind, heart, marriage. Now that you are an adult, he should be encouraged to find love and companionship. For 20 years he's put himself aside to put you first. That he is with your aunt is not ideal as she is married, but please realize that in a harsh world, sometimes we need to be forgiving and accepting. The situation sucks, but with a serious conversation with your father you can figure things out. If he makes your aunt happy and she makes him happy, then she needs to end things with her husband, and maybe this is the push she needed to do it. Best of luck to you all. NSFW, will I regret staying in a relationship with incompatible genital sizes? Update, I've decided definitively that our relationship is worth exploring further to see if it's something we can improve with time. The general consensus is that this is a hardness/excessive wetness problem and not a size problem after all. I'm feeling optimistic. Thank you for all the understanding and helpful comments. Original post I, 38F. Hate that I'm posting this because it makes me feel so shallow, but I feel like I need more perspective. I have always been a woman who thought that size doesn't matter, as that has always been my previous experience. I have had partners with a broad spectrum of penis sizes and have enjoyed them all. I have been single on and off for 2 years. I've been dating but haven't had much success finding compatibility, connection and attraction all together. I met a man, 39 meters, online and we bonded quickly. There was a lot of mutual attraction, vulnerability and comfort in our interactions. We check so many of each other's boxes, have shown so much potential, have similar desires/interest, and I really care about him. I'm so sure that he is who I've been looking for. We were really looking forward to meeting. Yes, COVID is here, but we've both been quarantined and our social circles are small, careful and isolated, so we felt safe enough. We have had a few miraculously good dates, and guys, it's freaking magical. But here's where I need some perspective. We had sex for first time recently, a few times in total. Kissing was intoxicating and the foreplay was amazing. By the time we got around to penetration, I was already well satisfied. I knew in advance that he wasn't overly large and had no negative thoughts or hesitation at all about it. I thought from experience that everything would be just fine. But when the time came, I couldn't feel anything. I literally had no idea he was in me, except for the fact that I knew he was and could tell he was enjoying it. I didn't say anything at the time because besides the fact that I felt nothing vaginally, I still enjoyed myself because he made me feel good in other ways, and I get a lot of pleasure from giving others pleasure, and because I in no way want to shame him or make him feel anything other than that he is a wonderful man. The only reason I am having doubts is because I'm lucky enough to be the kind of woman who has a high libido and I easily orgasm from penetration. I love it because it feels so good. As such, I've always considered a good and healthy sex life to be an important part of a relationship for me. Hopefully without being too graphic, but in the interest in enough information, I do have an unusually long vaginal canal, and despite having children it is still quite tight. I'm not saying he's small, I'm simply stating that our genitalia didn't fit well together. I've never experienced this problem before. I spent several hours the other day looking up solutions, so I'm aware that some things are fixable, insufficient hardness due to nerves, too much lubrication, etc. And I'm also aware that this is a new relationship and myriad other things can go wrong. But I'm a mother, and if this proceeds well, in the future there could be introductions to children, and I take that very seriously. I guess what I'm wondering is if this sort of issue is a deal breaker, or if I should be unafraid to continue investing in this relationship with so much potential. I am looking for my forever partner, and being monogamous, the idea of no more vaginal orgasms, outside the use of toys, doesn't excite me. But what wouldn't you do for the right partner? I'm wondering, does anyone, male or female, have experience with this or a similar situation, and how did it work out for you? Too long didn't read. How much does genital incompatibility affect an otherwise great relationship? Edit. My initial reaction is that this is not a deal breaker, and I have no plans to break up with him over this. I would guess that he is a little larger than 4 inches. He wasn't completely hard any of the times we were intimate, and I'm sure that affected the experience.